Hey, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. We're continuing on with our Embodied Catholic Leader Series, Becoming an Embodied Catholic Leader Series, and we're exploring ownership today. It's the Sanguine. My lovely bride here will be our Sanguine.
Hello. Yes, that is me.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to this. Actually, you guys should be looking forward to this. This was a good one. Matt, coached my face off in this one.
Thanks so much. I wasn't trying to coach your beautiful face off. I like it where it is. But I like the smile that's on her face now after being coached.
Freedom.
Become who you are, right? Filled with hope. That's what the Sanguines do. That's their call. We want to help you become more of who you are and own who you are as a Sanguine so that you can be a gift as a Sanguine leader. We'll see you in the podcast. Hey folks, welcome back to the Catholic Coaching Podcast. Aaron, we're continuing on with our Embodied Catholic Leader series, and we're talking about Sanguines and how they embody ownership today.
Yes.
You're going to be our resident Sanguine.
I am. I'm pretty high. Like in our test, our temperaments assessment.
Just a little bit.
Test? Is that what it's called? The quiz
It's
test?
an assessment.
All right.
Our temperaments assessment quiz.
Our temperaments assessment. It's like saying double. Our temperaments assessment. You guys can go take it, actually. It's free.
Show notes.
10 minutes to take it. But if it turns out that you are Sanguine after you go take that, today's call will be great for you.
Okay, so what we've been looking on, exploring these different, we call them operating principles of a leader. We've already done envision, which is all about discernment. A leader always goes first, right? So the first to discern, receive that word, that vision of the Lord, and then they're inviting people on not their vision, but the Lord's vision, something that they're co-collaborating and co-creating with the Lord, right? A Catholic leader is going to have a vision that's inspired, right, to invite people to participate in. Next thing we get into is ownership, okay? So you probably heard Jocko Willink talk about extreme ownership. But here specifically, there's two things that we're inviting you to own, all right? If you want to go back and reflect on our podcast where we just talk about ownership and what it is, you'll get a lot more of it there. But it's owning God's incarnational design. That's the first thing.
I mean, ultimately, because at the root of that are our thoughts. So owning our thoughts, having that custody of the mind.
Like it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then owning our property lines. And this gets into a little thing we call locus of control. You've probably heard about this in the personal development world. It's becoming pretty central to the work we do at Metanoia Catholic. And all that is you've got your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and your behaviors, and your decisions, and your reasons, and those things that are yours. And just like you, everybody else has theirs. And the moment we start to try to control what is not ours, we abdicate what is ours. All right? And that's where we fail to own. We fail to embody this ownership principle, and it results in things like blaming other people, shaming other people,
lack of
judging,
boundaries,
no boundaries,
manipulation.
Yeah, all that fun stuff. And that's thing, like you're never going to be a good influencer. All right? And so influence is one of those operating principles we'll get into next in this series, Becoming an Embodied Catholic Leader. But you got to own first. If you don't own, you're never going to be able to influence.
Yeah.
Cool. And Sanguines love to influence, right? They love being the life of the party, love getting out there, being on the stage, front and center.
Yeah, it's actually like it's like a motivation for us, to influence, to inspire others. So, yeah. I'm looking forward to this. I'll be your test dummy.
But she's a beautiful test dummy and a rather smart Sanguine dummy here for us today. Okay, so we're going to
all Sanguines are smart.
All Sanguines are smart. All right, she's really smart. All right, I'm paid to say that. We're going to be asking a question: how is the Sanguine Catholic leader inclined to take ownership? Okay, again, we're reflecting on these questions through unique design. Depending on your temperament, that's what we're using temperament as our vehicle for exploring unique design. It's not the only way. We also do Strengths Finder. That's a great way. M-Code assessment is another one that's out there. Impact is one that we're learning more about. APEST, right? That's about the fivefold giftings that you read about, and I believe in Ephesians 4.
Yeah.
That's a really neat one.
It is very cool.
That's a
APEST.
cool one. Yeah. Yep. So apostolic, prophetic, evangelizer, shepherding, or teaching. So we can look at all these different assessments, kind of explore a different angle of the person when you look at them together, right? Which is a journey. You can't just throw it all into an algorithm and spits it out. That'd be nice, though. But there's a journey that you can start to explore who you are by God's design through these different assessments.
What I like about this work that we're doing here is we're actually taking that information that so often assessments stay on that informational level. Yeah. They stay in that intellectual level, and it's not moving into that human formation where you're actually taking what you learned and applying it to your life. And that is our aim here at Metanoia Catholic, but also on this series is to take these operating principles, break down these operating principles, say like in this situation, the operating principle of ownership, there's a couple things you need to own: your thoughts, your unique design, and your property lines. And here's how you do it as a sanguine, and here's how you can apply this to your life. And so, that's just a little bit of my gripe about like all the assessment work is that it often is not taken deeper to apply to your life.
Well, it's a checkbox, right? And perhaps a lot of us have been in organizations where it's like, hey, here's your Strengths Finder assessment. Cool results.
Go read it.
Go read through it.
And then we'll never talk about it again.
All right. Awesome. And then like how often do we talk to people and they're just like, I think I took that. Yeah, I think I had like 5 years ago, I think we took it. Like, but I don't know. Maybe I was like this, like, is that the like where you get the 4 letters and stuff like that? It's just like, okay, well, so these things they need to be paired up with coaching. Okay, it's not a human formation here, folks. If you don't have a formed human that's helping the person go through this, right? You can't divorce human formation from a well-formed formator, which is why we have our coach certification that's coming here, by the way. All right. So not only do we coach at Metanoia Catholic, CatholicCoaching.com. Okay. You can learn more there, but we also have coach training. We have our Catholic Coaching Certification Program is really our flagship. That's how we're getting the formators out there to do the human formation work. As a DRE at the parish, I recognized very quickly that it wasn't about program, and perhaps a lot of you guys work in the church as well. It doesn't matter what program you have if you don't have a formator that's delivering the program and helping the person receiving it become a student of their own experience going through the program.
Or perhaps you have a formator who is deforming the people, right? Like because they don't have that formation. Yeah, because they don't have that formation themselves, and you can't give what you haven't first received. So that, yes.
Yeah. So we're on a mission to have a Catholic coach in every parish in the United States, across the world even. We've got some people from overseas that are even in our coach training at this point, which is pretty exciting, right? But in fact, the closed cart for that is actually coming up. So we have twice a year, we have our certification cohort. It's 6 months long. September 24th is a Sunday. It's our closed cart. Okay, so this is 2023. September 24th, 2023, to join our fall cohort. That's going to wrap up next May. And so at that point, you are going to be a confident and competent Catholic coach. We drill. Take a systems approach to training. That's my military background coming in, and Erin's ideation, her brilliance, and just her skills, making this a very teachable, learnable skill that you can learn and you will learn through the program.
We've seen people transform. Like there have been people at the beginning like, oh, I don't know where we're going to go with this one, but shockingly, I mean, not shockingly because we know it works, but like every single time I'm like, well, would you look at that?
It works.
When you actually drill people and you teach them competence, like they become competent.
Yes.
Would you look at that? Yeah. So anyway,
it's coaching in line with God's design. So it's really helping the person to become more of who they are, right?
Amen.
And so they're just tapping into God's design, which, quite frankly, in sin we forget it, right? We miss the mark. We forget who we are. Okay. And so it's just a return to that. Okay, so check that out. You can go to our CatholicCoaching.com, our coach training, download the free brochure. We may even at this point of this airing have a webinar that you can check out, the replay of that webinar. Okay?
Yes.
So awesome. Okay, so we're exploring here the sanguine Catholic leader. How are they inclined to take ownership? But also, what are some of the things that get in the way of them taking ownership? And again, it's not enough to just know this principle of ownership. Embodying it brings the mindset and the unique design. They both got to come forth together. Okay, so Erin, we're going to talk about how you have learned to embody this principle of ownership.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to give 2 examples here today. We're going to kind of take Erin through a bit of a process. This is a reflection also here, folks.
Coaching. This is actually showing you
coaching.
how we take this information that we give to you on something like this.
Aha, looks good.
I don't know if you can see it.
Emily Adams is our designer. She does a wonderful job.
We just did this at AMU, and it was a temperaments leadership workshop.
Yes.
And this portion helps you go deeper, but what Matt's going to be doing with me is helping me apply this information about my temperament to my life and actually be transformed by the renewing of our mind. So let's go there.
And on that, speaking at metanoiacatholic.com, speaking at metanoiacatholic.com, if you email that, if you're looking to bring somebody, if you want us to come in and actually do that temperaments leadership workshop for you, maybe it's your parish, maybe it's your university, organization, whatever, that'll get you in touch with Abby on our team.
Boom.
Cool. All right.
Let's do this.
Let's do it. All right, Aaron, we're going to talk about your first non-ideal or trigger situation here. So on that little chart that you showed up, there's a thing where you can kind of claim some of these triggers. And what are triggers, Aaron? Can you explain what those are?
I just lest you be triggered by this word trigger.
I know.
But it trigger. I mean, it's exactly how it sounds. It's exactly how it, like, you experience something on the outside. You have a very quick thought, feeling, and reaction. And that reaction usually leads you to fight or flight, or even respond, like by fighting with somebody, or defense or anger, or leaving the situation, right? Yes. So it usually leads to some sort of aversion.
Yes.
You're just like, I don't want to be around this, or I want to fight against this. So that's how you know you have a specific trigger. So each one of these temperaments have their own specific triggers, and some of them are internal, some of them are external. And today I want to share with you 2 external triggers for me. Okay. Specifically.
Let's do it, okay? Because when you're triggered, you're not showing up as your best self. So we want to help you to diffuse these triggers. That's what we're going to be working on.
Because it's fear-based.
Yeah.
You're not showing, you're not even showing up as a rational person.
Yes, yes. Okay, so Aaron, your trigger, when you went to your chart and you said, okay, this is a trigger of mine that I can claim, what was it?
The I can't or we can't attitude, or fixed mindsets, or negative attitudes. So it's we can't do that.
Okay.
So
it's not just somebody telling you no. It's just you bring up something and somebody just finds all the reasons why you can't do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, when I'm coaching people, that comes up a lot, and that doesn't bother me because I'm like, well, good thing you're here. Let's move past that. I can live in that strength of coaching and help them move past that. That's not a problem. But when it's on our team, I have thoughts about that.
All right. So let's dive into a particular example here. All right. So you already mentioned the team. I see in our notes that's where we're going to go. Tell me about an example of when you were triggered by what you perceive to be an I can't or fixed mindset in the team.
So I come up with a lot of ideas. I'm aware of that. I'm fully aware of that. And it actually takes a lot of temperance to hold back a lot of my ideas. When I bring them up, they are coming from a really good place. They're trying to save the team energy and try to maximize our impact. That's what I'm saying. Those are my qualifiers when I bring them up. They're not always fully baked ideas, but they are, I think to myself, this would, I think, help the team, and this would help us make a better impact.
Yes. So I hear your sanguine coming out. I hear your positivity, that positive contribution of the sanguine, kind of even that hopeful, the person that can see through things through a lens of hope. That is the intention that's inspiring these ideas and sharing these ideas.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a unique contribution of a sanguine. Sanguines are heralds often of a very, they're very positive and they're very hopeful.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I bring those up and it is met with, here's all the reasons why we can't do that. It's I have this thought, shut down again. That's actually what goes on in my mind. You have been shut down again. And then it goes to a whole other slew of thoughts. There's a rejection that I feel. There are the actions is I actually shut myself down. I isolate, I withdraw. I'm even a little passive aggressive. I'm even guess we don't want to make things better, or easier.
Nobody picks up on it.
Yeah. But I also don't defend my idea. I don't open up dialogue about it. It's it's this immediate response. like, why am I the only one like thinking about new things and like bringing hope to this situation where it probably doesn't even really need hope. It's just very dramatic. Like that's where this leads.
Okay. So in the context of a team environment where you present an idea, you've got a lot of hope, you've put some thought into it. Maybe it's not fully baked, and you're presenting this and you're desiring, like, what are you desiring? As you're presenting it? What's your best case scenario of how you'd like to be received?
Like the end result, the end result is like, how do we make this easier for the team? And like how to make a greater impact. Like I love that as a challenge.
What would that look like? Like you're presenting something to the team, an idea to the team. How would you like the team to respond? Like,
yeah, like let's look at this. Let's just like give this airtime.
Okay.
And it doesn't need to be 5 minutes. It could be 2 minutes, but just like, let's kind of see the reasons why you think this is a good idea.
Okay.
You know?
All right. So we can see kind of this image of this hopeful image that Erin has in her mind. Like as she's presenting things, this is how she's hoping it will be received. People actually voicing back, I can see the merits in this. Okay, let's explore this. Let's talk about this. Let's give equal airtime. What do we like about this? What do we dislike about this? And what often happens in this triggering situation, Erin?
That doesn't happen. Like people don't respond that way.
They don't respond that. How do they respond?
They will like in this particular situation, it's like they'll respond with like all the ways it can't work.
Okay.
And so that's obvious. And the funny thing is when I have that thought, I'm being shut down again, and I go to that rejection and all those actions, I actually become the naysayer. I actually become like, I actually have a negative fixed mindset in that. I'm like, see, this is what happens.
I'm stuck in this group of these negative Nancys already. I'm just stuck here again. Not this guy.
Yeah.
My restorative can go a little bit. My low positivity and high restorative sees like, and that's the thing. Like whenever I'm the person, and guys, I'm the negative Nancy that shows up. All right. One of them. And my intention is always to weigh the merits of it. And my perception is like, okay, how this has been presented is showing all the positives. The positives are already out there. Let's give equal airtime to the negatives that are there. And so there's one of the things that you shared, Erin, also is like, how do you perceive the gifts and the talents of the other people on the team also from this mindset of I'm shut down again, and then you start shutting down yourself?
What do you mean?
How do you perceive, like, so restorative can show up as a gift, right? How do you perceive that restorative? Do you perceive it as a gift from that mindset?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No.
This is just like exploring a little bit more. Yeah. So like there's this.
No, it's just like, yeah. Like, we always say like when you don't own your stuff too, by the way, guys, you will always move into victim mode, and every victim needs a villain. So like, that's who I make, like everyone who's saying no, I'm making them a villain. I'm like, see, I'm all going like self-pitying.
Well, yeah. And I'm wondering here, it's like when you're shutting down and you're shutting down your own ideas and you're not sharing them anymore, it's just like, you're not being seen. Right? You're no longer seeing your own giftedness because you're not sharing your giftedness. And then also what happens is you stop seeing other people's giftedness.
Yeah,
and
for
receiving
sure.
that too. Okay.
Yeah, I lose hope. I lose the very thing that I'm like trying to bring. Like, and I'm trying to bring more efficiency too, but I lose both of those things. So
you stop living in that contribution that's unique to a sanguine of hope, and you go to
positivity.
Despair.
Yeah.
And positivity.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think your team needs that?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah. And we do. We definitely need that. Okay. So if we move on with this, so that's we just took an assessment of what's showing up in the actions, emotions, and thoughts. Great. Awesome with that, Erin. Let's move into like what's in your locus of control and what's out of your locus of control. Because an important thing here with ownership, owning what's yours and allowing others to own what's theirs. All right.
Yeah.
What can you own? Or let's go outside first.
Okay.
What's outside your locus of control?
What's outside of my locus of control are other people's thoughts, other people's reactions, response, their inclinations to reacting, their thoughts, their feelings, their actions. All that's outside of my locus of control. Also, their gifts and their limitation of knowledge, even,
sure.
And even just kind of like how they are receiving it. That's outside of my locus of control. Mm-hmm. What's inside of my locus of control are all of those thoughts that I just shared with you. The whole I'm being shut down again. Like, they didn't even give this equal airtime. They didn't even look at this, and all of that. That whole trajectory is within my locus of control.
Got it.
But also, whether or not I say, hey, can we just look at this for like 2 minutes from like this point of view, and then we can kind of deliberate on it. Like, that's in my locus of control too. I can present it in a different way. I could present it probably at a better time too. Like, actually have another moment where I off to the side, or bring it up to you first and we can talk about it ourselves, and then like present it to the team. So all of those things are within my locus of control. What's
interesting here is that, like, when you're what you were sharing there in terms of like, this is what my approach was. If we go back to that original image of like the what does success look like? How do you want the team to receive it? It's like, well, I want there to be a dialogue. I want there to be equal airtime where we're taking this idea, we're noting the merits of it, and we're seeing, like, kind of weighing out all things, right? And maybe we're just giving 2 minutes to this, or we say, hey, you know what, this is going to be a sidebar for another meeting or something like that, where we can explore the merits of it further. But what you just shared there is like, okay, how can I, with those things that are in my locus of control, how can I contribute or incline the group to collaborate with me in creating that space where we're all like open to giving equal airtime and collaborating.
Intentional about creating that space. So like, I was just thinking as you were talking, I'm like, it'd be kind of cool at those operation meetings where it's just like, there's a moment where you guys give me space to just share my ideas. And it like, there's a limitation to that. It's like, you can share like one good idea at this time, or like, you know what I mean? Like, there's like, Aaron, how can we make this better and more efficient and easier for people?
Ooh, I like that.
Right? Like, and that's my time to talk.
Well, and what you're just sharing there, Aaron, and I love this, and this is something that I think we can all benefit from, and this is like the work, this is what happens when you start doing the work of unique design and you start understanding it. It's, you kind of like present people an owner's manual for you, and you're like, this is how you get the best out of Aaron Engel. This is how you get the best out of Matt Engel. This is how you can best utilize me at these meetings, and you can create a space for my gifts to come forth and be a contribution here. And like, that's another thing that's in your locus of control, right? To the extent that you know yourself, you can let people know, this is how I show up best. And this is like, can you help create a space for me so that we can create these conditions for me to show up and do what I do best, and vice versa. I can create a space for you to do what you do best. Yeah. So we're not stepping on each other's toes.
Yeah.
How's that all landing?
I mean, cool. Yeah. I mean, it's so helpful to know, like, when you go into that space of like what you can own and what you can't own, I find that is like a gateway to creativity. Like, oh, okay, I can't change how people will respond this, but I can be more creative in my presentation. I mean, I'm co-owner of this business, so we can even like establish that ideation time, right? Like, yes, like in our operations meeting, and have a limitation on it, because I get overwhelmed by all the ideas too. So like, I like limitations on ideation time too. So that's not a problem, but it moves me from a place of like self-protection to self-gift to creativity.
Cool. I want to see more of self-gift out of you, my love. Okay. So like, we get to this place and you talked about the accepting and surrendering what is yours, and the fruits of that being like, it actually puts you in this place of creativity. It's like, okay, like I can't necessarily control whether somebody responds with, okay, let's look at the merits, like on a more of a positive attitude, but I can own my response and be creative on how I invite them to create that space.
Yeah.
Right? Where we're acknowledging both sides and we're really weighing that out. So in moving forward here, okay, you like where this thought led you and you want to keep thinking this thought?
No, the thought, I've been shut down again.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, it feels like so victim-y and like just powerless and like it actually, yeah.
I hate that thought.
It's terrible.
I hate that thought for you. I hate that thought for our team because we need your positivity and we need your hope. And that thought is just like contracepting that gift from showing up.
Yeah.
So I hate it. Renounce it in the name of Jesus. And I can renounce over you because I'm your husband. Okay, so don't like it. Like, what do you think, though? What do you think this thought is pretending to protect, or how is it pretending to be useful?
I mean, I think if I the reason why I have this thought is to protect myself, right? Is to like self-protect from maybe more rejection. Like if I go, yeah, I've been shut down, then I'm definitely not going to open up again. And so it's like this, it kind of moves to a vow a little bit. But there's this, the funny thing is like, it's like pretending to protect me from rejection. And the reason why I say it's pretending because I know where it goes and it's not helpful and it's like really not protecting anything. It's actually creating rejection.
Yes.
It's actually creating more rejection. So the very thing that I'm trying to avoid, like, you know, or trying to protect myself from, I'm actually creating this in my mind with this thought.
Yes. You become the rejecter.
Yeah. I become the rejecter. I become like the very thing that I'm trying to fight against. Yeah.
Aha. We got you, ponytail. We figured you out here, man. Not happening. Sneaky little devil, ain't he? Okay, so leaning into then, moving to this place of empowerment. So we know that triggers will put us into our weaknesses, and then we abdicate our contributions. You see here, Erin abdicated her contribution of her hope and her positivity here. How can we lean into some of these contributions here? That, again, we explore these in our temperaments workshop and our leadership workshop. How can you lean into some of those contributions in this moment where, you know, and get out of your trigger?
Okay, so some of my contributions, I think we already kind of talked about them, but like, I mean, I am a creative problem solver. So even just creating that space where it's like, okay, you've got the stage for 5 minutes. Think of 5 ideas. Oh my gosh, that is like the best case scenario. If somebody's like, just think of 5 ideas of how to make this better, more fun, more impactful, go. Like, I mean, you better get your pen and paper. They're not all going to be good, but there's going to be a lot of them. So I think even just kind of that piece, like space to be creative, a creative problem solver.
Create that creative space.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think also just creating dialogue, like opening up this dialogue so that people can come to a consensus. That is something that I know I'm good at. I know that I can bring to the table. I can just be
facilitating a dialogue.
Yeah, and just being like, okay, you tell me what's going on with you, and not taking it personally. I think that's a big piece because I think I was certainly taking it personally. So just coming back to it and going like, okay, I'm not like, we're going to hear everyone out here.
Yes.
And so that's a big piece.
So not taking it personally. And for folks at home, like understanding, like when Erin says taking it personally, that means that like somebody else's actions, all right, they're poo-pooing the plan, are the thing that is affecting her emotion, all right, rather than her thought about the people poo-pooing her plan or the people offering some sort of other insights that aren't necessarily as positive or seeing it in this hopeful light that she had presented with it. So that's
yeah, and taking it personally makes it about you.
Yes,
like it becomes self-focused, and it's like, well, that's not the reason why I actually like wanted to share this this idea is to become self-focused at the end of it. So it's just like, it's kind of a waste of time and
another
energy.
thing that keeps you out of your contributions.
Yep. I am self-assured. I am, actually. Yeah. And I've had this story in my head where I don't really bring a contribution to on these particular meetings. Like, I've had this story that I need to check, actually. It's a thought. You don't really bring any contribution here. And so there's all this like pent up, kind of angst around like sharing an idea and being like, is this the right time and place for this? Like there's all this like fear around that. And so just to remind myself that I am self-assured and that my ideas are fruitful and are kind of important to the company too.
Yeah. I mean, like, your ideas will often blow up the current plan. Like they have the ability to do that. And sometimes the plan needs to be blown up. Like that's the thing too. But for the people that are really driven to achieve and just get it done, they want to stick with the plan. But your adaptability and that ideation, which is always looking for like another way or a creative way to go about,
and my strategic,
your
too.
strategic here as well. Like that's something where it's like, okay, yeah, know that sometimes when you share an idea, it's received as you're throwing a grenade over the wall, right? And
it's helpful,
but like it doesn't mean that the grenade shouldn't be thrown over the wall, right? Maybe the plan is maybe it's an ugly baby, right?
Here's the thing though. Like, I am also really good at influencing people. So, and I like influencing people. And I never like taking their freedom from them, right? Like just influencing. So
more to come on influence.
So that grenade, which is a thought, that grenade could be presented in a much more gentle way and just saying like, "Hey, freedom to say no to this." But here's why I think this would be an incredible idea. Okay, so I can own that. I can own the preface to my ideas. I can also some of my Are we going into?
It might not be a grenade. It might be a magic wand that transforms the plan.
Seriously. Might be some magic beans.
From an ugly duckling into a beautiful swan.
What other nursery rhymes can we throw in here?
Okay,
and it's a golden goose.
that lays golden, farts out golden eggs. Okay. All right. Ideal conditions. What are some ideal conditions that you can create based on your sanguine temperament? Where you really ideal conditions make it very easy to show up in our contribution. All right. So what are some of the ideal conditions that you can create that can, foster you showing up in your areas of contribution to achieve this goal of everybody collaborating?
Yeah, I think I like having opportunities to be a creative problem solver. I like that's an ideal condition for me. Like to give me opportunities to be a creative problem solver. That's why I was thinking when we do these meetings, you could be like, "Hey, creative problem solver, you got 5 minutes. You got the stage. Go. What can we make better here?"
That's interesting.
That would be really cool. But also I can make that for myself too. I can look at this scenario as something that needs a little shifting, this whole scenario. And how can I creatively problem solve for this?
Yes. Okay.
Managing our team and all that stuff. And even managing my own emotions and thoughts. So coming up with a creative solution for that. I think also just honesty and transparency when I present this idea. Just being like, hey, this idea is like kind of half-baked and don't want to take a lot of your guys' time, but what if blah, 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 blah. What if we tried it this way or something like that? I think just to kind of preface it with honesty and transparency.
And even preface it with an ownership, sanguines, that you're inclined to look at your idea through rose-colored glasses.
Totally.
Right? And so you're not necessarily going to be the one that is going to be having fully weighed out the pros and the cons of this. And so like that's something I think would be helpful for me too. It's just like receiving where I'm not high positivity. It's just like, okay, as long as she's acknowledging that she's looked at one half of this.
Yes.
And that creates a space for me and Bryant and Abby and Hannah to kind of come forth and just bring some of that restorative executor stuff.
Now, can I just mention something here? Because I think this is a good teaching point.
Sure, yeah.
Sanguines are capable of looking at the negative side of things. So we're not saying that they are like Pollyanna, that they can't do it. They do. And I know that's helpful for you when I say, hey, before I even present an idea, I'm like, I have looked at both sides of this. I'm sure I have a deficit on looking at like the problems that could happen.
Perhaps, yeah.
But I have looked at both sides. So this isn't like, I'm not like just presenting this out here, just kind of hastily presenting this. So I want to say that to everyone, like sanguines, you have a capability. We just choose to look at the bright side of things. So like you have
a habit of doing that too. Like, so it's a choice that really is, it's habitual, right? And so there's even coaching,
it's hope.
Even coaching sanguine coaches, I've noticed that looking at the downside, like when they're coaching somebody else and looking at the negative consequences of their actions and using that to generate aversion to kind of move them into action, there's often an avoidance of that because they're so inclined and habituated towards the positive, where it's like, no, let's like awaken the desire and give them the good vision, the good thing that they want to pursue, and not necessarily use that aversion emotion because it just doesn't necessarily feel as well. That's just anecdotal. That's just something that I've noticed in training other coaches that happen to be sanguine. So
they want to jump to the positive new thought really quickly.
Yes. So there's a habit that's there. And I think that's what we're saying. Own that there's a habit that may come in the form of a bias for looking at the information, but this no way means that you're incapable of looking at both sides.
Yeah, and also like any habits, like there needs to be balance, right? So it's like when you are going into things like those rose-colored glasses, right? Just know that that's a gift of yours, and there's other sides to the story too, and nothing is raining on your parade until you decide for that to happen.
Okay. So. We're going to make this podcast mandatory listening for everybody on the team so that we know how to create a space for Erin, right? When she has all her amazing good ideas. Okay. Great job, Erin.
Thanks. Trigger situation too.
Let's go on. Let's move on. Okay. So you went into our worksheet. You said, okay, there's another trigger here shows up commonly for sanguines, and I want to own this one. What is that one?
Oh, being misjudged by others, and the judgment is like vocal.
I don't like that either.
It's not like it's not like perceived. But it's like vocal. Like people say it out loud, or they type it, or something like that. So it's like, ooh, and that whole word misjudge is like. There's something inside of you that goes, they might be right, but also I think they're wrong too. Like, so there's that interior movement.
Yes.
Yeah, that's happening.
I'm curious, Erin, does it matter if the misjudgment is something that is private versus public?
Oh, it's worse if it's public, for sure. I mean, I think it hurts equally. It's equally hurtful if I was just to receive a private text and somebody was like, hey, you're a big stupid jerk or whatever, right? And you're like, what? But if it was like made public, whoa.
Erin is a big stupid jerk.
Yeah, everybody.
Went viral.
Look at this.
Look at this big stupid jerk. Okay, so do you have an example? Of course you have an example. I know you have an example. What's your example?
It was like years ago. It was right when we started coaching, almost like 5 years ago, right? Right when I was starting coaching. I was just trying to like get better at coaching. We had just started the journal. I was trying to get that out to people, like not even selling it. We were just giving it away for free.
There you go. We still give it away for free too, by the way. You can go get a free download at catholiccoaching.com of the journal. So check it out. Yeah.
So I saw this, this, I wouldn't even call her like a friend. Like she wasn't like a close friend, but it was like an acquaintance, And I saw her like a couple of weeks earlier. I haven't seen her I hadn't seen her in a long time. And as I was like praying about, Lord, who should I reach out to? She came to mind. And I reached out to her on Facebook, I think, or Instagram, I'm not sure. And was like, hey, like I did not have the words too, by the way. It was kind of like, hey, I was praying and like you came to mind and like my husband and I are starting this. I mean, it's like cringy to think about how I like wrote it, because it was like so confusing.
And it took you like 40 minutes to write.
Oh, totally. And I was like, all right, what do I say? Like my husband and I are like starting this business, and like, you know, I just like, I want to like talk to you about something, because I knew I couldn't really articulate what I wanted to give to her, which was like free coaching and the journal. But I knew that demanded time of people. And I knew that like there needed to be like a conversation. I just knew I was better on the phone than like in text or writing form.
Yep.
And like, but super vague and weird and confusing and creepy. Like that's like really when I think
her
about
thoughts about it now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But like, I mean, really, it's just so funny. So,
and this is the thing, folks, just a little thing that we've learned. Whenever you share with somebody, hey, the Lord laid this on my heart, or the Lord put you on my heart, discern whether or not you're really the Lord needs you to share that part with them.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it can kind of come across as if, hey, if you don't listen, you're like going against something God did.
Yes. So you're jumping ahead.
Go ahead, babe.
Because that was a revelation actually for me. So anyway, she responded to me, and we would be in her A line, her action line. She responded to me privately and was like, hey, I really hope this isn't like something like along the lines of like, this isn't like a sneaky sale thing. Like, cause this has happened before. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like that did not mean, and I was just like, I just wanted to talk to you about like really giving you something. I don't know what happened before to her or anything like that. But still was like super vague, like with my response, and like wasn't like, hey, no, you're totally wrong about that. I just want to like coach you for free. Like I'm trying to grow my business, which would have been like, oh, such a better response. Anyway, we're on the same Facebook like group. I don't even go on Facebook anymore. I don't even know what you call those anymore. But like minutes after I responded in another vague message,
that took 40 minutes to write.
Inarticulate message. Yeah, I saw her post something, and it was like, hey, don't be using God to sell your products or something. Ooh. And I was like, ouch, what? Like, I was like, the heart. Yeah, I was just kind of like, it still like brings a lot of stuff up for me, because I was like, whoa. I mean, that's a huge jump too. Like, I was like, hold on. What am I trying to sell? I'm trying to give you something for free. But now looking back on it, I can be like, all right, so here was the thought that I had. Okay. It's, I must have done something wrong. I must be like trying to sell her something. Like, even though I don't know in my head, like and really now if I'm looking at it, I don't want to coach myself. Actually, we're not there yet. So from that thought, I must have done something wrong. I must have been trying to sell her something and using God, like to sell her something. There's so much shame around that. I went interior. I cried. I was like so hurt. And I also like kind of went in self-protection mode, and I went through the scenario 1,000 times in my head. I read through it. I was just like, what? I mean, I could see how I was like super vague and kind of weird about this. And I wanted to respond again, but like I knew I needed to pray about it and not be reactive. Thank God I had that wisdom to do that. But I actually like agreed with her. I was like, that must have been the reason why I was doing this.
That must have been all the reason. So it was like
the only reason.
Yeah. So it's like, so you ended up at this place where it's like, this was 100% my intention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
And
that stung.
Oh, that stung.
Was shaming.
Because it was like almost an identity like situation, because I was like, I mean, I thought about what I was doing first. You know, I thought I had like understood why I was reaching out. Yeah. So it just, it was like a lot of self-blame, and it shook me.
So it just took the blame for it. Okay. So like, if we just pause here so we can see that like all the different ruminations and ultimately leading to the blame from this thought, Like if you just like this scenario, let's break down locus of control. What's outside of your locus of control first?
Well, her situation, what had happened earlier to her, her story, her thoughts, her emotions, her actions, what she wrote, all of that stuff and then other people who saw that post, like, all of their responses to that and reactions to that. So yeah, that's
okay.
Outside of my locus of control.
You shared something also that she had perhaps a situation prior to this.
Yeah, I said that.
Okay, you said that and said like what's happened before, the history behind it. Okay, so what is in your locus of control?
My locus of like what was within it was really like how I wanted to choose to think about this. Like even just bringing this up, like I'm kind of going back there emotionally a little bit.
I can see.
And my intention.
Your intention. Tell me more.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing when I kept going back and like reading, I was like, what was my intention? Like, was it really bad? Like what, and like just being like, Lord, I'm so sorry if this was like what I was doing. Like, I'm scared if I didn't know this. Right.
Okay.
Like it's kind of like this lack of self-awareness. Like if I was like, and frankly, I mean, the truth is, if I were to like be looking at all the thoughts, like I was trying to sell her. I was trying to sell her to get on the phone with me. I wasn't trying to sell like her anything for money because I was trying to give her free things.
Yeah.
But
was there a hope that eventually, even a little bit, you think, a hope where it's just like, okay, maybe she likes what I'm offering for free. Maybe she'll be able to buy this, or maybe I'll be able to like grow in my own coaching capacity here. Like what was in it for you in this?
Yeah, I mean, definitely growing in the skill.
Okay.
And seeing if our journal worked.
Okay.
For people and helping her. I mean, one of the reasons why I knew, like, I like thought about her and like prayed, was praying about her was, I think, and this is like so far off in the past, I think there was like some knowledge that she was kind of like in between things, like in between jobs. And so I was like, I think this stuff could help her. If she had decided, yeah, this is super useful, I want to pay you, like I want to like fight somebody on that either. But it wasn't like, me, I'm like, I'll give away coaching all the time for free. I love coaching so much that I would do it all the time for free.
Yeah. But so something that's within your locus of control here is also like you can shape the way that you offer. Right?
Oh, yeah.
You have a little bit of clarity here on even how you offer and getting clear on what you're offering. So like the word you were using before was like I was very vague and in what I was offering.
And like ambiguous and weird.
Yeah, which kind of comes off, it's like, I'm confused. What is this? Versus, hey, this is what I'm reaching out to offer you this.
Yeah.
And this
no
looks like no strings attached, but this is like, this is what saying yes would mean. I would give you this many sessions for this much time and this journal.
And I'd love your feedback on it.
And I'd love to get your feedback.
Yeah.
And right now I'm doing it for free. The way that I get paid is this. I would love it if you give me like a positive review. If you have a positive review to give, that would give me a great leg up. I'm looking for feedback right now. I'm a baby coach at this point. And
yeah, I mean,
and if you want to continue on, like, yeah.
I think there was like this, like, okay, so if one of my coaches ever came up to me and they're like, hey, this is how I'm actually finding people to coach, like I'm telling them that God placed them on my heart, and I'm like, I would like, don't do that. Like I would actually say to them, like, don't tell them that. Like if the Lord placed somebody on your heart, just reach out to them and say like, hey, this is what I'm doing. Be very crystal clear, exactly what you're saying, like crystal clear on your offer. And then say like, no strings attached. Like you could totally say no. Like, I will not think of you any differently. I just, you came to mind. So,
yeah, it sounds like there wasn't complete ownership of the intention.
The offer.
Exactly.
There was no ownership of the offer either.
Right. Okay, and so it came across as vague, and so like we can see how there was a little bit of an abdication there where it's just like, hey, you tell me what you need me to offer, right?
Yeah.
Which is oftentimes like, even we see, coaches in the beginning, and we've done it ourselves, is like, hey, you tell me what the offer ought to be. So, okay, there's a little bit of that going on. So we starting to also get a picture of the goal, like the ideal situation. Like, what would have been the best possible way that she could have responded in your perfect scenario?
I mean, it would have been like, great, let's set up a call. Let's get on a call and tell me what you got.
Okay.
Like that. I would actually have been like, yeah, she would have been excited about it too. Right. That would have been cool.
Because getting on a call with you would mean what?
That she's open.
That she's open to it.
Coaching.
And what would you potentially get from that? What would be the thing that you receive?
I guess an affirmation that she's open to coaching.
Affirmation she's open for coaching? Mm-hmm. An opportunity to grow in coaching?
Yeah. An affirmation that she's open to doing our journal and spending time doing that. So.
Yeah, you brought up feedback on even the journal. Yep. So there's all these things that we're kind of, we're identifying here as we're exploring intention. We could look at this and be like, okay, is this something that did desiring these things, does that elicit any shame in you?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because I never did that work.
Okay.
And that's probably why it still feels cringy it's cringy because of my offer was so cringy, but even just feeling that emotional response, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. I really had pretty pure intentions.
Yeah. And that's so awesome. Praise the Lord for that freedom here. Mm-hmm. And this is when we do the work of owning our intentions, even if it's just hey, and you know what? I would love I would be great. It'd be great if at some point she was just I love this so much that I'm happy to be your first paying client or something like that, or a paying client for you. Great. We can own that too. Again, is that something that we're ashamed of? Are you ashamed of that?
No. I think that's part of. Yeah, you give away value for free, and that's part of building a business.
Got it. So what we just did there is Erin just owned her intention. These are the things. When we ask that question, what's the best case scenario, or what do I hope will come from this? That often brings up the intentions, really what the intentions are behind there. And if there's any intentions that show up there a little bit, that kind of go queasy on them, that's where you start to do a little bit of thought work on it. It's okay, why do I have a little bit of judgment on this intention here?
Yeah.
Right? Or question that. Okay.
Yep.
Great.
Cool.
All right. So we explored what's in our locus of control. We can kind of surrender those things. And moving forward, I think it's safe to say this thought, I must have done something wrong, didn't really lead you down a path that you want to continue down. I'm curious, Erin, what is something that you thought this was protecting? Right? By believing this thought, I must have done something wrong.
I think I was trying to protect myself from her emotional reaction.
Protect yourself from her emotional reaction.
Yeah. That whole tendency of the sanguine to be a people pleaser, and to just automatically think oh, you must be right,
Because her emotional reaction means what?
It means it's scary, and
it's
so
scary.
So if I
Why?
agree, it's too much. I must be the source of it.
Okay.
So when somebody reacts big that, because there were a lot of exclamation points. I'm not saying I heard her, but there's a lot of caps and exclamation points on the public forum piece. It was I was whoa, this is a lot. And I must be the source of this.
I must be the source of this pain.
Yeah.
Wow. How does that feel?
It feels really sad and shameful.
Shameful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we can see how this is
and that's what was protect.
Okay.
I thought if I acknowledge that I must be the source, now I can do something about it. Mm-hmm. I can change the source, or I can just shame myself and mea culpa, make up for.
I can keep myself out of the shame.
Yeah. I think it's ultimately protecting me from the shame, or I thought it was, but it's actually just like the last one, is actually creating more
generating the shame.
Yeah.
Right? You become the shamer in this case.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting here, folks. Whenever we go, these triggers, they pretend to be useful. right? But when we start to do the thought work, this is why like embodying ownership says unique design. Okay. What are some of those triggers that we're inclined to have, like those habits of reacting that we may have? Let's own those. But then we bring unique design, we bring mindset in here. Okay, so let's dive a little bit more into your unique design and your unique contributions here. What are some unique contributions that you could summon to the table here that are part of being your sanguineness, part of being sanguine, that'll help you kind of stay within your locus of control here, Erin?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like...
While still pursuing that goal, the good that you desire.
Yeah. I'm willing to own up to my mistakes. So like, I'm not afraid to say, oh yeah, okay, my bad. And I think the problem with this one is that was very unclear. I was like, was it my bad? Or like, did I do something? Like, what did I do? You know? And like really just kind of being unclear about what my intentions were, and then taking blame where truthfully it wasn't like, it wasn't needed to be taken there. It was like, oh, no. You're having a thought and an emotion, and I'm just going to give that right back to you. I'm going to pray for you. I'm going to like do all the other things too. Like, but I'm just going to give that back. And so I think because I'm going to own this over here, and here's what's honest here. And so like, I think that's my willingness to own up to my mistakes, I think is, and it moves me to the next contribution, which is makes me like quick to forgive others.
So quick to forgive others.
Because it's like, I make mistakes. I get it. Okay. Like I totally get it.
Quick to forgive yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I quickly go into reaction. So I understand where that's coming from. So I could forgive her, but also forgive myself for that. The forgiving myself was harder in this particular situation because I didn't have a lot of this mindset work. I didn't look at my intentions.
You still hadn't owned your intention at that point.
Yeah.
And so it was fuzzy. Just because your intentions were fuzzy, it was fuzzy where you may have, did I do this? Did I like, it was fuzzy where you even needed to forgive yourself, which is why, folks, it's just so important to get clarity of mind around the intention. You always own your intentions. And there may be some self-serving thing that's in there amongst your intentions. That doesn't automatically disqualify it and make it bad, right? It's a little weird though when that's hidden, right? When that's not explained, and it's just like whenever, because oftentimes it's presented, this is a little too good to be true. Like, what's your angle here? No.
This is too good to be true now.
Well, I mean, my kind of deliberative shows up, and it's like, okay, like what's your angle here? Like, there's got to be something in this for you.
Masters of suspicion.
And just like, and it's okay. It's okay if there's something in it for you. Just like, tell me what it is, right? Like, what's the angle here? So, because there's no such thing as a free lunch. That's a thought. Right.
Totally a thought. Yes. Because I'm like thinking, how can we all win from this situation? I'm like, this is like, we are not coaching you right now, Matt. We are coaching me. Okay.
Great.
So they're not my thoughts.
So you're quick to forgive mistakes. And even like doing the mindset work of identifying what your intentions were and where perhaps getting dialed in on where that mistake was.
Yeah.
Like you're quick to give yourself forgiveness to move on, give somebody else the benefit of the doubt as well.
And forgive them. Like, right. And I think the big piece is just owning what was mine and just being like, oh yeah, like I do kind of agree. That was like such a weird way to like reach out. So, even like another contribution is I can take feedback and apply it to my life. So I really looked at this as an incredible lesson, actually, for me. I learned how to be very crystal clear with what I was offering and what that demanded of the person on the other end. And to also be very clear, this is completely free and you are free to say no.
Yeah.
Like just kind of even lead out of the gate like that, and not be weird about it, not be like all ambiguous and vague.
God has destined us to coach together.
Right. And once again, if the Lord places somebody on your heart, like don't tell them that. They're going to feel like kind of like, if I don't do this now, like what happens? Like the Lord will he smite me? Like that's just
crosses into that zone of manipulation.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Okay. All right. So ideal conditions also that you can cultivate as a sanguine that'll allow you to show up more easily in these areas of contribution. What about those?
Permission to laugh. I think that's like a really great ideal condition. Just like be able to laugh at it. Like even just now, it's just like so cringy to think about like how I reached out. It's like, oh, don't ever do that. Like, and if I could save anybody from that terrible mistake, don't do it. Just be honest, be transparent. And so that's actually another ideal condition, is just this culture of honesty and transparency. You can be very quick and to the point when you're honest, and just be like, hey, this is what's going on. I'm a brand new coach. I need people to coach right now. I saw that you might be in between jobs. I'd love to give you like 3 free sessions, and love your feedback on the end. If you say no, totally get it. God bless. Right?
How's that feel?
It feels like so clean and honest, and just, like happy to serve. You know, it feels generous. It feels all my motivators.
Sincere.
Yeah,
You
sincere.
gotta be sincere.
Right, like I will not like trick you into anything.
Sincere gift.
Gross. Yeah.
Becoming a sincere gift. All right, you're becoming authentically who you are at that.
And the other ideal condition is permission to make mistakes in the learning process. Like I could hold this over my own head for like years and years and years. This whole like, like you did terrible and whatever. Like, but I'd much rather laugh at it now and just say like, well, look how far I've come. Like, don't be like a weirdo when you. I keep saying weirdo. I just love that word so much. But like, don't stop being a weirdo when you are making offers to help people.
Yeah, and weirdo in this case equals not transparent, not owning your intentions, being vague.
And also thinking there's like a right way of doing this. Like that was like a big piece.
Yeah.
And learning like, no, there isn't a right way of doing this. Just don't be weird.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, we could say the wrong way of doing it is being weird.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll define those terms. So those terms here. So, folks, thank you so much for being with us. Erin, great job.
Thanks.
How does it feel?
I feel so much better, actually.
Cool.
Like I'm not going to lie. I was kind of like nervous going into this a little bit, especially that second scenario, because even when I was like writing out some of the notes, I was like still in it a little bit. And I think just even you bringing up the intentions piece and like really helping me, because I didn't know that's what you were doing. I didn't know you were like testing my intentions. But it just like brought a lot of freedom, because I'm like, oh yeah, like I didn't like do this to like manipulate.
Well, the Holy Spirit laid it on my heart to test your intentions.
Thank you.
Thank you for
I will receive
it.
that.
Okay,
praise you, Jesus.
Good. All right, folks. We're midway through this one, so we've got the melancholic and phlegmatic. They're going to be the 2 ones that are coming up next. And how does a melancholic own? How does the phlegmatic own? Okay, so this is continuing on with our Embodied Catholic Leader series. Please like and subscribe to the podcast. And God has laid it on my heart to invite you to consider the Catholic Coaching Certification Program. Har, har, har. All right, so, but if the Lord is laying this on your heart, that's for you to discern, right? CatholicCoaching.com. You can check out our coach training, and you can download that brochure, right? Brochure is going to have a lot of information in there, all information about the time commitment that's in there, the what we do. It gives a layout of the not necessarily deep dive into the curriculum. We get into that more so in the webinar that we do, but it gets into even the investment, the tuition. You can see some of the testimonials and experiences, some of the applications of it, difference between spiritual direction and coaching and counseling, where it all fits.
But also, guys, if you like what Matt just did with me, because like legit that helped. Just like this podcast, you guys got a window into us coaching one another. And like, if you liked that, he brought so much hope to me. And just like knowing how my mind works, knowing about my temperament and all of that stuff, like you don't have to be a unicorn to be a coach. Like these are skills that can be learned. And I want to like really drive that point home, because there's a lot of people go into this and being like, yeah, but like you have those natural. I'm like, no. This skill can actually be learned. And so know that going into it if you are interested. But if not, we'll see you at the next podcast. And we love you.
Yeah. And I'm going to own this. We are excellent teachers. we have an excellent method. Praise the Lord, right? We are coaching in line with God's design. So check it out if you'd like, or join us at the Metanoia Catholic Academy. But all that information is at CatholicCoaching.com. Thank you so much.
God bless you guys.
See you guys. Hey, thanks for sticking with us in the Catholic Coaching Podcast. If you like what you heard,
please like and subscribe, and we'll see you again.